Difficult women. Hello.
Hey.
Hi. I'm Marie.
I'm Katy.
And this is Difficult Women Podcast.
That's right. And you may know us from the musical comedy duo Reformed Whores. Or you may not. And if you don't know us from that, go look us up.
Yeah, Google it.
Google
I literally think you can Google whores and we'll come up.
At one point, you definitely could. I don't know if that's still the case, but
yeah,
we got discovered once for a show by some guy that was
our
just
very
Googling
first
whores.
show.
Yeah,
one of our very first shows.
Yeah. He was like looking up whores and was like, "Oh, wait a minute, look at this band. Okay, I'll have."
And he told us while I was trying to jerk off, I found you girls.
I'm like, good.
Wow, thanks.
But
so it was great. It was a good show. We did a couple of them.
But yeah, made some nice contacts.
Yeah,
from that show.
Living the dream here, folks, in New York City.
Absolutely. What's new over there?
Ooh, I have some very exciting news.
Okay, what?
I wanted to start this podcast, right?
I want to
with some positive vibes.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Okay.
Julia Johns came and got her cooler.
Yo! Pew, 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 pew.
If you've been tuning in almost every week, I've been like, Julia Johns, come get your cooler. And she did.
That's exciting.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm happy.
We had to start this podcast for her to come get it.
That was the only reason. This is our last episode. This is
all
we wanted.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Difficult Women.
Yeah.
It's a goodbye.
Just kidding. Please don't stop listening. Please don't.
Yeah, no, she got her cooler.
That's exciting.
If you've been listening to the previous episodes, we've been talking about it. If you're just tuning in for the first time,
you can still be happy for us.
Yeah. I had a cooler basically for 2.5 years. And because of this pod, she came and got it.
That's exciting.
She was
like,
shamed.
We shamed.
Yeah, shamed. That's what you do to your girlfriends.
Yep. Just like publicly humiliate them so that they pick up their shit.
Yep. That's us. How's it going on over there?
It's going great. Guess what?
What?
I think you already know this, but I'm going to say it like that anyway. We got an email.
Oh my God.
And it contained a question for Katy, which really is a question for both of us. But yes, a question for Katy.
But finally, a question for Katy.
We're so excited. So I'm going to read this question and then we're going to answer it. Okay. Are you guys ready? Oh my God. Get ready. I'm ready. So it says, so happy to support you. I'm loving the podcast. I've been trying to think of a good question for Katy. I'm not 100% caught up, so you may have covered this, but here's one. It makes me sad to hear women of color or other subgroups of women voice the sentiment that feminism is for white women. How can we, as white psi females and feminists, make feminism more inclusive and intersectional? And here's another question, maybe an easier one. What's your favorite thing so far about having a podcast? Cheers, Molly. Molly, thank you for this letter.
That's such a great question,
it's
too.
An excellent question.
I feel like I've been talking about this a lot with my white girlfriends lately.
Absolutely. And I've been thinking about it a lot. And when I got the email, I thought, okay, what is a good answer for this? I would say a great place to start is to broaden your friend base and experience, try to meet new people who have different experiences than you and understand kind of where their experience is coming from and listen to their complaints.
Right. Because I think one big thing is that we as white women shouldn't be talking about somebody else's experience if we don't, I wouldn't say that I know what it feels like to be a black woman because I'm not a black woman and I haven't ever experienced that.
For sure. But I would also say if you're in a room of white women and they're talking about feminism that's only white centered, you can be the one that stands up and goes, hey, you guys, there's other people included in this conversation.
Yes. Well, it was interesting. The other day I think it's Women in Music, or I'm probably saying that wrong on Instagram, but Reba McEntire had posted a picture with just all white women and it said, surround yourself with people who, I'm butchering this. I don't know exactly what she said, but something about like surround yourself with badass women to build you up. Something like that.
Sure.
Okay. I wanted to write like, yeah, but you should also surround yourself with more diverse people.
Yeah. Because this world is not just
white women. Yeah.
And why psi women.
Right.
The other thing I was thinking about.
I have a dumb question. What's why psi? What is that?
Oh, so psi
I don't know what that means.
Psi means not transgendered.
Oh, okay.
So it's a person who was born into the body that they identify their gender with, right?
I don't know.
No, another way of saying psi is non-transgender, I think. We should look this up. Okay, I'll do it right now. Ready? So what is cisgender? So it is, I'm looking it up right now. The actual dictionary definition is denoting or relating to a person whose sense of personal identity and gender corresponds with their birth sex. And it's the opposite of transgender. So another way of saying psi is non-transgender person.
Okay.
And they just needed I read a whole thing about why it exists. Mm-hmm. And basically they just needed a word to describe people that were not transgender. To like have, you have to have a word for it.
Okay.
And you can also say not transgender. There's also a whole thing about people not liking the word psi. So if you would prefer to say not transgender, that's also appropriate. So that's that little lesson in that word.
Well, my favorite thing about the pod is learning new things like this.
Exactly. And I wanted to say one more thing that I think is important just in our history.
Yeah.
Of course, we're happy about the women, what do you call them? The suffragettes, right? Suffragettes were a really important part of feminism and women moving toward equal rights. But I just want to make it clear that suffragettes were all white women, and they did not want equal rights for black people. Right. They only wanted equal rights for white women. So to be starting feminism from that point is troubling. So we have to make sure we can move away from that as our point of reference. That's what I have to say about that. And my favorite part of the podcast is talking about stuff like this so people can learn about it. And I can learn. And I learn things too. Right. When I look it up. Huh. Well, another thing I'm like super, super pumped about is our topic today.
Oh my God. The reason why I wanted to start this podcast was to talk about this topic.
I mean, we could easily have a whole podcast about this topic.
I just didn't want to have a whole podcast about this topic.
I kind of do now, to be honest with you. Oh, I'm super psyched.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hold your penises and vaginas and things, your butts. Because we're talking about witches.
So what are some of the things that you kind of like took from this so far? Or what is your... how
every witch is described as haggish looking.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Oh, really?
No.
Well, mainly that people were accused of witchcraft because it was generally men scared of a powerful woman.
Right. That was the big takeaway I got.
Usually, I mean, back in history, in Europe especially, since over 10,000 women
in European history.
In European history,
that was the thing that
over 10,000 women were burned between the 16th and 17th century. Or not necessarily burned. They were killed in many other ways. But
named and blamed, I think they called it.
Named and blamed. Mm-hmm. But they would say that it was usually maybe a widower.
Yes.
Maybe a healer. Someone with knowledge, maybe a wise woman.
Mm-hmm. Someone who knew a lot about the earth.
Yeah.
Someone with a lot of cats.
Yes,
that was one
thing.
They killed a lot of cats during that time too. And the period we're talking about is, I think, primarily this sort of started happening in like Middle Ages sort of times.
Yeah,
sort of 1400s to like 1600s. It was like the big heyday,
right?
Witch hunts.
Well, the most famous, I think, one of the most famous women that was burned at the stake was Joan of Arc. She was accused of heresy and witchcraft.
Yes. Well, and that's a good point because there's like so much to unpack here.
Yes, I know. There's so much going to be a lot.
We might have to have a two-parter here.
First, let's do a two-parter.
Perfect. So one of the things I wanted to start talking about was how I am a witch.
Yes.
And I didn't realize it until we started studying all this. And you too can be a witch.
Really?
Anyone can be a witch.
Really?
Uh-huh. And you can be a man and a witch too, but there are more female witches. Uh-huh. And so what is a witch? What is a witch? One of the definitions of like a witch is a woman that is tapping into the divine feminine power. So there's a million different ways you can practice witchcraft. There's no right or wrong way. Wicca is a very famous, popular kind of way, and you can find groups and read about Wicca. One thing I was reading about was saying, like, if you have to pay money to learn how to be a witch, that's wrong. You can make up your own sort of spiritual practice around witchery. And I realized that I'm a witch because I'm kind of obsessed with tarot. I've become like into tarot recently. So things like tarot, you don't have to do tarot, but things like tarot, things like gemstone. No, you know those things like the rocks.
Minerals. The minerals are
like
minerals,
stones, gems. You know,
crystals.
That's things like crystals.
I have crystals. Yeah.
Meditations, affirmations, intentions, and then of course casting spells, which I don't know as much about. But any of those things that you can kind of like put together into like a practice and really like I mean, saging your apartment or saging things, and finding sort of a ritualized practice for yourself.
I just did sage yesterday to get rid of the
See,
marijuana smell.
You're a witch.
I'm a witch.
Yeah. And like learn and feeling like, and the goal really being like to tap into your intuition. And tap into like the intuition of like the world around you and nature and into tapping into other people. So I think that that's like really cool. There was a modern witch that was being interviewed on NBC's Left Field, a little podcast show that was talking about witches and politics.
Okay,
and politics, and she was saying that first of all, this one was saying that this modern witchery has been kind of rising with atheism. So as people are sort of like leaving the church, they're like looking for other ways to express their spirituality, and witchiness is one of them. And this woman, I love this so much. She says she thinks witch stands for women in total control of herself.
Ooh.
I mean, I was like, just set me on fire right now. I'm so excited about these concepts.
Tie a brick to my leg and see if I float, bitches. I will.
Probably not. But
no,
then
probably
still,
not.
That's not how that worked.
Oh, yeah.
But also, I liked the idea that, for a long time, witches were like seen as a negative thing and whatever. But they started, around the turn of the century, they started becoming kind of like popularized in like a sexy way. Like, so in the 60s, Bewitched was a thing.
Oh, yeah. I love that show.
So speaking of ways to, what witch can like mean, in the 60s, there also was a feminist group that kind of came out that was against the patriarchy. And they called themselves Women's International Terrorist Conspiracy from Hell.
Yeah.
Which is witch. And I thought that was really exciting. So, I mean, all that stuff got me really excited. Also, this woman, this modern witch woman, was talking about the Me Too movement and how, like, she's like, what I'm seeing with the Me Too movement is like women coming together, discussing like how they've been oppressed, and they're like coming together to build each other up and support each other. And she's like, that sounds like a coven to me. So I was like, oh, I love this.
Well, all those witches in Brooklyn came together to put a curse on Brett Kavanaugh's dick.
Yes.
And tried to make it fall off.
Yes. And then I found out,
I
knew about that, but then I didn't know that apparently the Catholic Church responded by getting an exorcist to try to exorcise the witches. Oh. So I thought that was really fascinating, that we haven't left this like witch burning concept sort of thing. I mean, they didn't burn them, but although in different ways we are being.
Well, in India, this is a sad thing. Let's take it down low a little bit. But I was reading that lately a lot of women have been accused of witchcraft. And it's over. I mean, and it happened in the medieval times, and it happens now. But it's about land. The women own the land. They're married, and the husbands then get the land as well. And then in some cases, I was reading. It's so sad, but it was the story of the husband was pooping in the fields.
Okay. To fertilize, or just because he needed to go?
Just needed to go.
Okay.
And then it was harming the crops. And so the wife was like, please stop. You're hurting the crops. How are we going to make money? And he was like, don't tell me what to do, yo witch. And then because he wanted the land all to himself, he accused her of witchcraft and like took it all to this very small town in India, where they like began to stone her and stuff and like really, really injured her. Thankfully, there's lots of organizations and nonprofits down there. They're actually helping women who are being accused of witchcraft.
Right.
And because I was trying to find, like, are women really still accused of witchcraft? And in Saudi Arabia, yes. Yeah. In India, yes. I couldn't really find something in America right now.
I mean, I think people are also owning their witchery. So
right.
if you accuse someone of a witch, a lot of times it's because they are.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
But it's just interesting that it's men being in India in this particular circumstance. It's a man threatened by his wife.
Right.
And accuses her of witchcraft, and other men agree,
right,
and physically harm her,
right,
and to silence her,
right,
and then that's that.
So this is what I found, that I'm never going to be the same after this. What I learned, it's like the Pandora's box has been opened. So there is a woman, philosopher, writer, feminist named Sylvia Federici. And she's been writing about feminist theory for quite a long time. She's been known for a pamphlet that she wrote in 1975 called Wages Against Housework, where she talks about how her quote from that they used was, "They say it is love, we say it is unwaged work." So that's a very interesting concept of like how another way to subjugate women is to keep them in the house. Not that I necessarily feel that way nowadays, depending on your relationship with your husband and your agreements. It's totally fine to be a homemaker. There's nothing wrong with that. But depending on, this is a pamphlet.
We're not mad at you.
We're not mad at you. Absolutely. No. And then she has this other thing she wrote in 1998 called Caliban and the Witch, where she breaks down the connection between witch hunts and the rise of capitalism.
Oh, shit.
And she says that what it started with was during the time of feudalism, where everyone was working on the farm at home, working together. The women and the men were working together to keep the home going. And then some guy would come by and be like, give me your sack of potatoes. And then they would take like a tax of potatoes. And then that's how you'd pay off your feudal whatever debts. But people basically were just working at home and doing their thing and taking
everyone
care
had
of
their roles.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like, it was more just like people were at home. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
So a woman would till the farm along with a man or whatever, or she'd take care of the kids. Maybe he'd pick the potatoes, but they were working together.
Okay.
So then with the rise of capitalism, where you're like making money, you know what I mean? It's not like trading or, you're having to like make money. The whole thing with capitalism is it's the idea that you exploit and turn every creative, constructive energy that comes out of a human into labor. So when they start saying the man has to go to work to make money now, or using money as a concept, then they have to force the woman to stay at home. So as opposed to it being like this, like even thing where like we're working together, it becomes a thing with like, how do we keep the woman at home
so the man can make the money?
And also things like capitalism also they make sexuality and sex about procreation so you can make more workers. So you are like industrializing the female body in a way, and you have to control her to make capitalism work. So whenever you started having a woman that didn't want to get married, that had too many cats, that didn't, that spoke up too much, that argued with you, that did anything that like threatened this new patriarchal capitalist system, the easiest way to take care of her was to call her a witch and try to burn her or stone her or something. So the patriarchy, capitalism, and this idea of like subjugating women is very, very closely tied together. But prior to that, there was a lot of like, there was paganism, right? And that was a little bit earlier. But there's these goddesses that were the female goddesses of the earth and female goddesses of like sensuality and intuition. And these are the kinds of things that you associate women with. And as capitalism started taking over, they needed to just like erase that part of any kind of religion or spirituality. And they started like making, and even in Eastern cultures, some of these like the Hindu gods and stuff, there's a lot of females, but there's this weird ambivalent view of these females where they can be like the goddess of, sensuality, but sometimes she's like really evil, and then sometimes she's like, lovely and whatever, and helps you procreate or whatever. But the idea that then that's sort of the beginning of this Madonna whore complex, where there can be no middle, and any kind of middle is dangerous to the patriarchy because you want to keep your women separate. They also monetized, capitalized sex, women and sex, so that a man can come in and say, okay, I can either use my wife to make children and procreate more labor so I can make more money to use my kids on the farm or send them off to work to make more money for the family. And if I want, I can also go fuck a prostitute, and that's for me to blow off steam. But I don't want either of these women to talk to each other. I want them to feel very, very separate so that they don't come together and be like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Right. So it's in everybody's best interest to keep
it's a man's world.
Yeah. I mean, but it literally is. And that's why I think it's really, this whole witch concept is like so exciting to me because like on the one hand, they're trying to use the word witch to like,
take us down.
Dehumanize people, to embarrass them, to have a reason to like destroy women,
right?
And to silence and whatever. But then on the other hand, we can go like, yeah, we're witches, and witches just means. Oh God, can I read this one more quote? There was another thing that somebody said. They were saying, okay, the term witch. Historically, it's a word used to shame and persecute women who are perceived to be too powerful, too threatening, too close to dismantling the status quo. Yet witch is also a word that burns with the fierceness of self-empowerment, of divine knowing, of inner guidance. The term witch is really something that can be applied to anyone who believes in their own authority and divinity. A witch is a woman fully in her power.
I'm a witch. I'm a fucking witch. Bring it. I will fucking burn you to the ground.
Yep.
Oh my God.
My life is forever changed.
Wow.
Forever changed.
This is so fascinating. I kind of dug into the historical witches,
too,
but I love this even more because, we've talked about our non-traditional lifestyles.
Yeah.
We are opinionated, powerful, single women living in New York City. We're witches now.
Yeah.
We're Brooklyn witches.
Yeah. We are 100% witches, whether we knew it or not. The other thing is that they talked a little bit about, there were so many things. I'm definitely going to buy this book and read more about it. And
what's the book again?
The book is by Sylvia Federici, and it's called Caliban and the Witch. And it's about witch trials as a tool of early capitalism. And it's so smart and makes sense, and also is like, holy mother of God.
Wow.
But another thing that was mentioned, I don't know if she mentioned this or, I kind of just like fell into this whole wormhole of witchery, but they talked about gossip and how they say like, well, gossip is so bad. Gossip is so bad. You shouldn't gossip, especially in like the church and stuff. You know what I mean? Like I feel like gossip is like almost like a sin. And they were saying the reason why they've sinified, God, I'm making up words left and right here.
Love it.
But that gossip is not okay is because they basically called gossip as anytime women would get together alone and sometimes talk about men and whatever shit's going on that's not okay. And they didn't like that. So they didn't want people to like out men. They didn't want people to share information. They wanted women to stay like dumb and alone and separate. Anytime women convene together, it's threatening to the patriarchy. And an example they were using that's been happening nowadays is during the Me Too movement, women have been putting together these like lists. There was a list of like, troublesome men in Hollywood that was sort of a secret list that was floating among women to sort of be like, hey, watch out for these guys. Like they're going to cause problems. And when some guy found out he was on the list, he immediately wanted to punish these women for making a list, for just talking about talking about things that have happened. And he like took it to court and he really wanted them to like suffer. And it's like, that's modern day witch hunting.
Segue. Did you know that Hillary Clinton, she's been called a witch ever since she was first lady. And when she ran for president, she was called the Wicked Witch of the Left.
Sure.
Let's see. Julia Gillard, first female prime minister of Australia, was met with taunts of ditch the witch. They always would protest saying that. Nancy Pelosi, definitely called a witch all the time on Twitter. And then recently, Theresa May, she was, I haven't seen this, but apparently she was filmed laughing loudly. And this video went viral because they were saying that it was the witch's cackle.
Yeah. They use that word to try to like shame women.
Yeah.
And it's the word, it's kind of like, well, it made me really think about the name of our band, Reformed Whores.
Right.
And how people
so many people try to shame us for it.
And people use the word whore to shame other people, which is why we use that word.
Right.
We chose that. It wasn't just like
bring it
by chance that we like picked that word. There was a reason why. And we wanted to sort of take, and they were saying that too, that like slut, witch, whore, bitch, all those words are words used to try to like control people.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why we're trying to take that word back.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then we should empower everybody who's listening that if you're ever called a witch, be like, fuck yeah, I am.
Yeah, I'm a witch.
I'm a witch.
I'm totally into it. We need to make a shirt.
Yeah.
I'm a witch bitch.
I'm a witch.
I'm into it. Can I sell that on
I love that.
Website?
On Patreon. Ooh, if you join Patreon, maybe you can get a witch bitch.
I'm a witch bitch.
I'm a witch bitch shirt.
I'm into it.
Cool.
Somebody may have already used it, but whatever.
Yeah, we'll take it
anyway. Because I'm a witch bitch. I don't give a fuck.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. Oh, the thing you were saying about the hags.
Yes.
So sorry, I like jumped on that so much because I was like, I had read the thing.
I haven't read that. I didn't read that. That's all I read. That they were all like haggish looking women.
I only read that for what I meant to say was in European
culture.
Oh, yes. It's only your,
yeah.
Witches exist all through different cultures.
Definitely.
All over the world.
Yes. And some are absolutely glamorous and glorious.
Well, and some are babies.
Some are baby
I read
witches.
that about, that babies.
Some are baby witches?
Some are babies. Babies are witches. This was like, and they can be of different ages. It's a very much a Western concept that witches are old hags. And the reason why is because of capitalism. There's in Western culture, older women can no longer provide children or sexual services. So then they are useless and a drain on the creation of wealth. And that's why there's such hags in the Western world and the capitalist society. Wow. Yeah.
Well, did you know that the iconic image of the witch with the long nose and the ugly face and the deformities, it's actually there was a real witch named Mother Shipton. And it was during like the 1500s that this woman really existed. And she had visions and she predicted the Spanish Armada, the Great Plague of London, the Great Fire of London, and the execution of the Queen of Scots.
Like
Mary Queen of Scots.
Nostradamus.
Oh, and the internet.
Oh, good. Oh,
yeah, and the internet.
And the internet.
But the way that they describe how ugly this woman is, I was like, oh man, poor lady. But guess what? She got married. Oh. She still got married. She met a man.
There's hope for all of us.
There's hope for all of us. If the ugliest witch ever to be on this earth found love, I wanted to share that with you because then,
we all have hope. We all have hope. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know what? If I was a dude, I'd marry her too because I'd want her on my team.
Yeah.
If she can do all that stuff.
That's true. Oh my God. Yeah, but she'd always have these predictions and the kings would call her and be like, tell us what's going to happen.
That's interesting that it was this must have been during feudal society before capitalism.
That's true.
You guys.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that was cool.
That is cool.
But also there's a moth named after her too.
Moth?
A moth.
Oh, yeah. Mother, what is it called again?
Mother Shipton. A Mother Shipton moth or something. But when you look at the wings, it has that sharp nose.
Oh, sure. I think I kind of know.
Haggish face, as they like to say it.
Oh, it's very polite. Body shaming.
Body shaming. Hey, guys.
That's shameful.
But at first I was like, I don't see it. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that long nose.
Now I think I have a new girl crush. Mother Shipton.
Mother Shipton.
Yeah, I'm going to get posters of her put up on my bedroom.
Mother Shipton had a hag face due to her ugliness and disfigurement.
Yeah, and that's so mean.
I know.
I have to keep saying it like
that's why that's what I kept reading is that all these women that were single and had
But that's also, face. I bet you anything. Because we don't have pictures. It was no photography. I bet you anything she was hot as hell. And people wanted to shame her. And then they were like, let's talk about her like she was ugly.
Well, one thing that they would do is that when they would pull these women in and say, you're a witch, we're going to, look at your body. They'd strip them of their clothes and then look over their bodies and they'd find warts and skin tags and sagging breasts. Right. And they'd say, that's witchery. That's witchcraft. But really, no, that's just age. That's just a human body aging.
Or just any body. Sometimes people have skin tags. They don't have to be old.
I do. I've been flicking one all night.
Oh, good. That's gross. You're a witch.
I'm a witch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to share. So, we each share something really special about the theme. And I actually have a witch ghost story that I'd like to share.
Okay.
So I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and all growing up, I heard about the Bell Witch. Now, I know there's a movie about it now.
Oh, there is?
There is. Oh. But I lived it.
Okay. You wrote the movie.
I wrote the movie, and I filmed it, and now it's a blockbuster. No. But really, growing up, I had a huge fear of the Bell Witch because I'd go, to camp and they'd tell the story of the Bell Witch around the campfire. I'd go to slumber parties and you would stand in front of a mirror and turn around 3 times and say the Bell Witch,
Bloody Mary, but yes.
Yes, but Bell Witch. Because it happened in Adams, Tennessee, and they say it's a full-on true story. Adams is just right outside of Nashville. This took place in the 1800s, and it started off with John Bell on the Bell farm. Mm-hmm. He went outside, and he was looking at his farm, inspecting it, and all of a sudden he came across a dog-like animal, and they kind of describe it like maybe it had like a bunny head and then like a wolf body. I mean, it was just
cute.
Not
I want one.
But it was like, an animal of the devil, kind of.
Sure.
But it was
my kind of animal.
Oh, gosh, leave that animal alone. Mm-hmm. So that very night, they heard banging outside the farmhouse. just really loud banging, and they left it alone. But then, like, over the next week, the banging and started coming from, like, inside the house.
Oh, yeah.
Then there was scratching and gnawing sounds. And then the children would be in bed, and the sheets, they said that they could feel somebody at the end of the bed, and all of a sudden the bed sheets would pull off.
Oh, good.
Isn't that crazy?
Is that a ghost or a witch?
It's a witch.
But is
so
she a
then
ghost?
all of a sudden, yeah, it's a ghost witch. Oh. Hello, the best kind of witches.
Okay.
So then all of a sudden she spoke one day. And she said that her name was Kate.
Oh, it was me.
Yeah. It was you.
I remember this, yeah.
Is this your great-great-grandmother?
Yeah, that's just me.
But she would then, like, quote the Bible, and she would sing hymns. But the saddest part, and this is what got me as a child, is that she would only physically really abuse the youngest daughter, Elizabeth, by, like, slapping her, and she'd go to bed and she'd wake up with tangles. So, like, when I'd go to bed and wake up with tangles, I'd be like, oh my God, the Bell Witch came. So Elizabeth would wake up with scratches on her face, and she just was really abused by Kate, the Bell Witch. And then Andrew Jackson actually was so intrigued by this, he went to the farm, and was said to have experienced this kind of mayhem as well. So she didn't kill anybody until she was said to have poisoned John Bell, because he died of poison, and there was a little black vial by his bed that he died, because they found the poison in his, and then you could hear cackling like the day after his death.
Why didn't they move?
I don't know. I would have asked him.
I know it was a different time then, but still, I'd have been like, I'm out of here.
But then like she kind of went away. But so I was looking on, like, ghost hunters and all that sort of stuff. Like, people go to the Bell Farm. No. I mean, it's a big tourist place now. You can rent canoes there and go down the river and stuff.
Rent a canoe and get slapped by a witch.
Yep, there you go. But a lot of people swear that any of their film equipment will not work on the property. And there is footage I was watching. I got too scared. I had to turn it off.
I kind of want to go and I kind of don't.
Yeah. Really but the Bell Witch. But I mean, that lived with me forever. Yeah. And the scariest thing that I experienced as a kid was I was at a friend's slumber party, and somebody again fucking started talking about Bell Witch, and I was like, please stop, don't, like, let's just leave it. We talked about this at last week's slumber party. And all of a sudden we hear a cackling sound. And, like, I swear to God, I was like, she's here. She's found us.
You called her. Yep.
Yeah, we did it, because I've been thinking about this so much. I conjured her up. And then it turned out to be my friend's brothers, like,
yeah, I'm sure,
like screaming through the vents into the basement,
listening to your Bell Witch conversation.
It was absolutely terrifying.
That's scary.
So that's the story of the Bell Witch. Yeah. Go to Adams, Tennessee. You can go visit the Bell Farm.
Maybe on tour we'll stop by one day.
That'd be so
you have
scary.
a hometown ghost. I'm not going to go on this too long, but, like, my hometown ghost is
in Rockville, Maryland.
Not Rockville, but in Maryland. That's the place where the movie The Exorcist.
Yeah,
it's a true story.
Yeah,
and it happened in Maryland. And my piano teacher actually knew the family, and it was a boy, not a girl, in real life.
Oh,
but she knew the priest or something. She knew, like, the priest that did the exorcism.
Ooh,
yeah. So that's a true story too.
Wow.
Ooh,
see,
not about witches, but terrifying.
Yeah,
ghosts. I believe in ghosts.
I do too. I've seen a ghost, but I don't want to talk about it right now.
We'll do another.
I've already just faced my fear of talking about the Bell Witch. She's probably listening and be like, I'm gonna tangle your hair tonight, Marie.
Like Beetlejuice 3 times, which I still won't do.
I know. I know.
Oh God.
Anyway, but that's why I wanted to share it with you, because I've always had a negative connotation towards witches. So for you to kind of turn it around and make it a positive thing is really exciting.
I think that the idea was to make it a negative thing.
Yeah.
That was the whole.
And I fed right into it as a child.
We all kind of do.
Yeah.
It's that patriarchy, man.
Yeah.
Like, my goal, I'm realizing on this podcast, is just, like, slowly dismantle patriarchy and capitalism.
Let's do it.
Real, just like one story at a time.
I don't want to switch the roles. I just want to equal it out like Sweden. If they can do it, we can do it. Right?
Yeah. Well, there was a time when, the women were treated equally. Back in the day. Way back in the day.
Way back in the day.
1000s. Maybe not even. I mean, I think it's gone up and down. Actually, I need to look this up before I talk about it too much. But there's been moments in paganism. Paganism definitely celebrated women in a more equal terms. And that was a threat to Christianity. So by the way, I just wanted to mention, a lot of people, similar to like these stories that you have, they think of witchery only as like bad things, right? So even these witches that are casting spells, sometimes you can use witchcraft in a negative way or like in a mean kind of way, like they did on Brett Kavanaugh. But you can also be a white witch, which means that you're only using your witchcraft for good things. And I think most witches nowadays tend to be.
You're the whitest witch I know,
I
girl.
am so white and witchy, so into it. But also that like you used your like energies and your, manifestations for good. So, and also I wanted to mention, if anybody out there is very affiliated with a religion, that doesn't mean you can't also be a witch. It doesn't have to be like one or the other. You can like develop your own witchcraft, witch lifestyle. And it doesn't have to be, it can be affiliated with a religion. It doesn't have to be affiliated with a religion. It can be, you can consider it your religion, or you can just not consider it your religion. There's not like a lot of rules in this.
Where did the broom come from?
Oh, I didn't look it up. I don't know. That's a good question.
It was like, get back to the kitchen, you witch. And then she's like,
hell no. And she flies away on the broom. That's probably what it is.
There you go. We got it.
There you go. And cauldrons and like all that stuff. The cauldron, though, I think is from like spells and things. There's all these movies, too. Witch movies where everybody's kind of...
Well, I was in the Crucible in high school. So I studied the Salem witch trial.
Right, we didn't even talk about the Salem
we didn't
witch
talk
trials.
about the Salem witch trial. But yeah, and the Scarlet Letter, and I mean, it really put women in a bad place.
Well, it was what I read about that just today was about how at that time people were in the United States, they were kind of suffering because they had sort of a lack of resources and were struggling to get their neighborhoods going. And so anytime something would go wrong, they would try to pin it on the devil and witchery and stuff. And they would target rebellious women who did not conform to the social norms, and they labeled them witches. Ooh. Anybody that was promiscuous, had illegitimate children, had strong bonds with other women. A lot of cats. I'm into the cats thing. Living without a man. Also, anybody that defended herself, disagreed, was not submissive, or swore, which is us to a T. I know, I keep labeling these things. There's so many. It's just so...
We're such witches.
I know.
Well, also, the midwives were really targeted.
Yeah,
that was one thing
I read
that I was...
Too.
Yeah, 50% of children died during
childbirth?
Yeah, childbirth during those times, the earlier times. Those times, way back when.
Back in the day.
But so the midwives would be there present, and the children would die, and they want to find, place blame.
I also heard that women that also supplied birth control were also like targeted because again, you're trying to like, anytime a woman has control over her reproductive system, that's not good for the capitalism.
And sometimes when they saved a life of a child or something, like in Outlander, Outlander, spoiler alert, but she saves a life and she still gets accused of witchcraft.
You can't win.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do about this? I mean, I'm going to start doing some spells tonight.
Well, I'm going to start uplifting the word witch. I'm not going to think, I'm going to say, goodbye, Bell Witch. See you later. Hello, the new me.
You know what I
Brooklyn
think
witch.
you should do with the Bell Witch?
What?
I think you should consider it a ghost. It sounds like a ghost to me.
Yeah.
A witch to me is like a real person.
Yes.
So the Bell Witch can be now the Bell Ghost.
Okay.
Because that's what
The Bell Ghost.
Yeah.
Kate the Ghost.
Yep.
Okay.
Like Casper, but less friendly. Just slapping people around. I kind of like that.
Well, I don't think I've ever told anybody this. So might as well tell the whole world.
Sure.
When I was in Thailand,
I
collected crystals on the side of the banks of some little river. I was in Kawasak in the jungle. Mm-hmm. I just had the afternoon free. So I collected some crystals and I put them in a circle around me. And I said a little prayer and meditated.
That's witchcraft. It's great. Yeah.
Now I'm realizing, oh my God.
Yeah. But it's like kind of comes naturally to women, I think. It's like a way to like connect with yourself and it's not like about the devil.
Yeah. No, I wasn't worshiping the devil.
No. I mean, and you can.
But you
can
totally.
Yeah, that's
Hail
different.
Satan.
Sure.
But
yeah, no, I have my crystals. I put them out and then I like to do mine so like with like the moon, the phases of the moon. I'm very like into the moon
What's the moon doing right now?
I don't really know. I wasn't. We're gonna have like
I think it's really cool that you're into tarot.
Super into tarot.
That actually terrifies me, though. I'm one of those.
It does, but you know,
I'm scared of it. Because I did it I did it a couple years ago. Remember at my birthday party, that woman was walking around Cobra Club, and she asked me if I wanted to do it, and I was hesitant, but she did it, and she warned me about financial troubles. And guess motherfucking what happened?
But here's the thing about tarot.
What?
The whole point of it is to like. So maybe it's tapping into some real things, right? But it's like a warning. It's like a thing so you can prepare yourself. It's a thing so you can also reflect.
I'd rather not know.
Well,
I'd rather not know.
I do want to know sometimes, like what, especially like when it's like a trouble you're having at the moment, right? So let's say you're struggling with something, like a breakup or whatever. If you do your tarot cards, it can give you a reflection of like what's kind of happening in the moment. And again, it doesn't have to be even hippy dippy. It can just be sort of like a way to look at your situation from an angle you maybe haven't thought of it from before, and can help you move past it and to like get some enlightenment over this issue so that you can like move forward and make good choices. And it's not going to tell you what to do, really. Sometimes there's some. I mean,
she literally was like, ooh,
yeah. I mean, but she was right. So then there's, you know,
yeah. But I wish I hadn't known that.
But why?
Because then I would have been channeling all my mantras for money to come to me.
Why didn't you do that when she said, like, I see that there's a potential for like financial things?
Well, truth be told, I didn't know that there were mantras for money to come.
Well, see,
because then I read "You Are a Badass,"
totally,
and I now say, "Money comes to me. Money comes to me."
And this thing I was reading today about witches, they were saying that even having affirmations like "I am powerful," "I am rich," "I am," that's a spell, and that like. You tapping into your full power and your full ability to like have, you know, autonomy over yourself in any way possible. So whether it be, you know, with your money or your body or whatever, and not being pulled down by outward forces, like a man telling you you're a bitch, you're ugly, you're, you know, and really being in your own self. That's all part and parcel of being like a witch, a strong witch. I'm into it. I don't know. I'm definitely a witch now, you guys. And I feel like it's a thing too that I feel like I've been sort of doing my tarot kind of quietly. You know, it's not a thing I've like put.
You don't go to Cobra Club and ask strangers.
Not yet,
to
but
do
I kind of want to.
Oh, Jesus!
Like,
please don't do that.
Why not? Why can't I? If people want it,
yeah. If they want it, give it to them.
Sure. And I think that like I think tarot is really empowering because what it does is it just gives you a reflection on whatever's going on in your life right now, and just a different way to look at it. And sometimes you might look at it and be like, that didn't resonate with me, and then okay, it didn't resonate.
Yeah,
wasn't maybe a great reading or whatever, or you know. But sometimes things will hit, and you're like, oh man, I never thought of it like that. And then you're empowered to make a choice or a change in your life that might be you haven't been looking at the way you need to. And sometimes when you get that card that says like you're holding on to nonsense, sometimes it takes a tarot card reader to tell you like let that shit go for you to go, you know, if everybody's telling me this and I know it's in my heart, then maybe that's.
But what if you get
thing.
the death card?
So the death card is not about death. The death card is about a big change happening. So it's like a death of, like, let's say it was your relationship's falling apart or something, right? It could be the death of the relationship, or it could be the death of, you know, a time in your life. But it's a very positive card. It's all about like, and when the death is in reverse, which is, means that you're not letting it go. And it's going to happen whether you like it or not. But, and you can either fight it kicking and screaming, or you can like choose to like be aware that this is I'm at a turning point in my life. Yeah.
Still not on board, but
that's okay. You don't have to be, but and you know, I mean, it's not for everybody. I get it. It's definitely not for everybody.
But you've gotten me into horoscopes.
I'm super into horoscopes. I love it.
I whenever I don't look at it every day, but whenever I have a question for the universe, I do turn to tarot.com.
Right. And the idea with horoscopes is that you're in tune with the energies and the alignment of the stars. So it's a very like witchy thing because it's like all about the earth and like, you know, what's happening in the world. It's not just, it's like in theory, it's not just some guy rattling off nonsense, which I'm sure there's some horoscope writers that do that. But there is like dare I say, science behind it in terms of like the position of the stars. And I think that's just neat. I mean, the nerd in me likes that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm a witch.
I want to be a witch, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I am too. I don't know. I just want the powers now. So, talking about street harassment, I was street harassed the other day by a man sitting in his van, and he goes, "Look at you. Good for you. Being out, walking around." And that's when
What does that even mean?
I don't even know. I was like, they let me out of my cage, but as a witch, I wish I could just
cast a spell.
That's when I would
then it's like,
what a weird thing to say.
Look at you. They're good for you.
But that immediately made me be like, oh, he thinks he has ownership over me.
Right. Why does he have an opinion
Why
about
does he
whether
have
you're
an
outside or not?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Way to go, woman.
Way to go.
To get outside. Look. Yeah.
Sort of off topic, but it reminds me of this. I saw the show this recently, and they had this song called "Good Boy." You're a good boy, and it's sort of taken from this notion that there's an Instagram page called Awards for Good Boys, and it's about like people like some of the lines in the song were like, "Oh, you held my purse without making a face. You're a good boy." Because these people like think that they deserve like an award for like, you know, one of the lines was like, "Oh, you admitted you were a feminist in a room full of women. Oh, good boy." And I was like, "Oh, I love this so much."
But did you see that before or after I told you that I've been calling the guy that I've been seeing, I've caught myself, which is so crazy that I've never ever done this before, ever. But when he does really nice things, I've caught myself saying, "Good boy."
I mean, yeah.
Which is, that's
this is sort of the opposite in that like you're saying like you think you deserve an award because you did something normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That, you're a good boy thing is weird.
No, I'm not going to do that ever again. Yeah. I'm not doing it. But,
yeah, it's interesting.
Good boy.
Good boy. Speaking of good boys, is it time for
troll time? Oh my God, we have a new troll.
We're so excited. We're so happy that
it's so exciting when we get that little ping ping on our phones to be like, troll alert. Why don't you read that troll?
Okay. You know, he left his name, so I think we should just let everyone know who he is.
Yeah.
His name is Andrew Conde. Conde, You can Google him on it's
always a man.
YouTube. Oh, well, and this one was on the Mansplaining song.
Right. Which that we've gotten a lot of trolls on that one.
Sure. And there's a lot of pushback about this concept of mansplaining. People, like men, do not like to think that that's a thing.
Right.
But by the way, you wouldn't see it if you're a man, first of all. Mm-hmm. And number two, if a lot of women are saying it's a thing,
maybe it's
why
a
can't
thing.
You just, you're not going to always, because you wouldn't, how would you ever experience it?
Right.
You wouldn't because you're a man. But so he says, gender specific words against men is fine, apparently. Women can't also do this. BTW, if somebody replies saying that most men do this, 1, they don't have proof statistically. 2, if most women do something bad, then therefore, because of equality, it's okay to make gender-specific word against them with the inclusion of women in it. So because of his syntax, we might have to unpack this a little.
I mean, I read that one and it kind of lost me. I could tell it was a bad one, but there's no statistics. Bless his heart.
I mean, that's what I guess that's sort of what I was saying before is he's like, if somebody says that most men do this, well, they don't have any proof. But it's like, that's the point is that like you as a man are not going to experience it. So what's the proof? I don't know how to like, there is proof. I mean, maybe what the proof would be is like, actually there's definitely proof of like, I remember when Hillary was running for president and then the men would be talking over her. It was like very, there's a lot of proof out there. So there is proof. So you're wrong about that. And then what's the other proof? If most women do something bad, then therefore, because of equality, it's, I see. So he's saying that women are allowed to do bad things and because of equality, it's okay, to say something gender specific against men, but not against women because of equality.
You can say bad stuff about us too.
Oh, they do.
Well, yeah.
I mean, come on, let's get.
We're reading the troll.
No, but the point is that like, I think I had an argument or a discussion with somebody recently about this, where the thing is, when women say mean things against men or like generalize things, certainly it's coming from a place of anger. And I think a lot of times it's coming from a place of like, you've been doing this to us for like decades. And we're finally kind of like coming together and getting a chance to like speak out about this stuff. So there's that part of it too. Mm-hmm. But I think it also becomes a thing where the woman in this case is the oppressed person, right? So like in the same way, like, how do I want to say this? if men are constantly making that joke of like, oh, my wife's so ugly. How ugly is she? Like that thing that we've been hearing over and over again.
Right.
Now, if a woman is doing it, people are like, well, why are you saying that about a man? It's like, well, because first of all, this has been said for so long and now we're not allowed to like do it back, But I get it also, like we should be trying to move toward like being respectful to each other.
Right.
So I definitely believe in that too. But mansplaining, if you listen to it, is not say anything negative about men. It's about don't mansplain.
Right.
That's all it's about. But people are so sensitive. What do you think?
I love that song.
Yeah. I think it hits home with women.
Right.
Because they've experienced those things. What are the ones in them? Oh yeah. When you want to like build something.
Yeah. When we go to IKEA and, I was just telling a friend today, I pat myself on the back. I put my AC in the window all by myself, hanging out the 5th floor. Yeah.
You only killed 2 people.
Yeah, it's terrifying. But I remember when my ex-boyfriend, lived here, I remember him saying, like, when I get home, I'll put in the ACs. And I'd lived in this place for 10 years, putting in the ACs all by myself, no matter, And so when he came back, like, they were already in.
Right.
And he was like, why would you do that? Why would you? And it's like, because that's what I've done.
Right.
Like, why do I need you to?
Right.
So the IKEA, so one of the examples in the song.
And a lot of times men will come back to that and say, well, why wouldn't you want someone to do something nice for you? And it's like, certainly.
That's fine. But you know what?
But I don't know
what's nicer is sitting in front of the AC right now.
Right.
Rather than
waiting
for my man to get home to do it.
Absolutely.
So that's the first one example. Yeah.
The second one is about being in an office.
Yes. And men saying that they have a brilliant idea when you have just said that exact same idea.
Like acknowledged your presence at all when you said it.
Right.
And then a man says it and then they do the thing, which again is a thing I think a lot of men don't see because they're like complicit in it.
Right.
So, but women are very familiar with that feeling.
Right.
Especially in the work environment. But even in like a circle of friends, the amount of times I've said a joke and no one's like acknowledged it. And then a man says the exact same joke like a second after I said it and everybody laughs. Makes me tear my uterus out and shove it down the man's throat.
Ooh, learn that trick, you witch.
I mean, I'm about ready to do it.
And then the final one is in Washington, having all these men decide what to do with with women's bodies.
How all these white men are the ones
mansplaining.
voting, and they're voting on whether a woman should have rights to her own reproductive system. It's like, hello.
And then the bridge is beautiful. It was your idea.
Yes, about that like we also white-splain. Yes. And that like we have to make sure that we don't do the
It's
same
a comedy
things to people of
song.
color.
It doesn't
it's
always
really funny.
That's always
really funny.
It's a funny song.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is awesome.
I mean, enlightening to say the least.
For sure.
How many of y'all write us in and let us know if you're going to be a witch now? Or if you already are a witch.
Join us.
Join our coven.
Join us.
Our Reformed Horse coven. Our Difficult Women coven.
Yes.
If you're a man, you're also allowed to join.
You are definitely
Everybody's
allowed.
welcome.
In our coven.
Let's make some spells. Some nice spells. But we'll do some spells to get our current president out of office. That's a nice spell. Yeah.
No! Don't do that! Don't do that! Oh my gosh!
Anyway,
we do want to just end.
Well, I just want to make sure everyone, we like to ask everybody at the end of our episodes to tell a friend. That's all just one friend.
You will tell a friend this week.
It'd be great if you could tell a friend about our podcast, spread the word,
subscribe, rate, review, all those
things,
yummy things.
And as always, we are on Patreon, so if you'd like to join our Patreon, that'd be cool. We have some really cool, exciting videos that we're about to put out. We don't want to spoil them because you have to be on Patreon to know what it is.
But there is one that's spooky. That's on there.
But you're only going to see it if you become a patron. So, anyway, but thank you for listening and joining, and we love you, and we love all our witch bitches.
Yeah, our witch bitches. Thank you so much for listening, and till next time.
I was going to say that. Till next time. See, we read each other's minds. We're witches.
Well, let's say, see you next Tuesday.
I almost didn't.
This morning when I turned on the news, I saw the White House was chock full of dudes. How are all these guys with dicks gonna make your decisions for us chicks? I brought it up to him about to scream, 'cause I don't see your degree in gynecology. You think you know it all 'cause you have a ball sack. What you don't know is this pussy grabs back. Hey guy, I'm tired of being shy. Just 'cause you got a D don't mean you went to MIT.
not cool. Don't do it.
Okay, bye.